This does not mean ignoring injustice or pretending evil does not exist. Throughout the Bible, God calls his people to love truth, pursue justice, and defend those who are vulnerable. However, he also calls us to reject hatred, vengeance, and pride. There is a difference between standing for what is right and allowing our hearts to become consumed by resentment. One of the greatest freedoms I have discovered is recognizing that not every battle belongs to me. Some belongs to God. When we truly believe that God is sovereign, we no longer feel responsible for controlling every person's choices. We still speak truth, we still love others, we still pursue justice where we can, but we also learn when to release burdens that were never ours to carry. I think this is one reason Jesus lived with such remarkable peace, even while surrounded by constant opposition. His confidence rested entirely in his Father's will. He knew his identity. He knew his mission. He knew that no human action could ultimately prevent God's purpose from being fulfilled. That perspective transforms everyday life. It changes how we respond to criticism. It changes how we respond to betrayal. It changes how we respond to disappointment, uncertainty, and fear. Rather than becoming overwhelmed by circumstances, we begin asking how God might use those very circumstances to shape our character. The commandments themselves become easier to understand from this perspective. They are not merely rules designed to restrict us. They reveal God's character and protect our hearts. When we choose forgiveness over revenge, generosity over greed, humility over pride, patience over anger, and faith over fear, we are not simply obeying commands, we are becoming more like Christ. Of course, none of us succeeds perfectly. The disciples certainly did not. Peter failed spectacularly before becoming a pillar of the early church. Thomas doubted before boldly proclaiming the risen Christ. Even after years with Jesus, the disciples still misunderstood his kingdom at times. Yet Jesus remained patient because transformation is usually a lifelong process, not an overnight event. That gives me hope. It reminds me that spiritual maturity is not measured by whether I never struggle again. It is measured by where I bring those struggles. Do I carry them alone until they become bitterness? Or do I bring them before God in prayer, allowing Him to reshape my heart? As I continue growing, I find myself wanting fewer things from the world and more of God's presence. Circumstances still matter, but they no longer define peace. Peace comes from trusting that God is already aware of every hidden truth, every unfair situation, every unanswered question.